Welcome to the Magical Medicals podcast. I'm your host, Buddy Abrahams.
And I'm Terry Allen.
A show about the moments that changed people's lives forever. Jesse, welcome. Welcome to the Magical Medicals podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And Terry, please take the honor and introduce Jesse to us.
Actually, we met Jesse Campbell at Agape. I think it was, I forget,
4 years ago?
2 years
About
ago.
2 years ago.
You were singing on the stage, and then we spoke with you afterwards. And then I met you through Leon, and then we did a few classes together. And yeah, so I reached out to you a few weeks ago, intuitively, and we connected on a children's level, which we'll talk about later. But Jesse is an amazing singer, because you are. I'm not just saying that.
You are an amazing singer,
and
Jesse.
You sang one Christmas, actually. That song was beautiful that you sung at Christmas at Agape. I think it was in 2019.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's a licensed minister and a father and a most motivational speaker. So thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Glad to be here with you guys.
No, thank you. And we don't know what, as normal, we never know what people are going to talk about, but I'm sure we're just going to allow Jesse to unfold naturally with his divine story.
Yeah, the idea is to share a story that will bring assistance to a lot of people on this at this time on the planet, but also that could shift someone's life. We never know who he touches with these stories. I mean, for us, these stories are actually profound. It helps so many people. We get so many wonderful feedback from some of these stories that we listen to, and it's kind of help, even if it just helps one person on this planet. We try and bring out as authentic but as positive as we can be with these stories to a lot of these people. So thank you so much for joining us, Jesse.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me, because I have a lot to say, a lot to share. And I'm going to try to stick to my motto, which is less is more. But yeah, it's an honor and even a privilege to be able to share one's life's stories that has that were pivotal in my life. And so thank you for the platform, because I love doing what I do, and I love people, and I love assisting, because I truly feel that we've all agreed to come here at this particular time to assist one another in our soul's evolution. And you guys are very instrumental in that. So thank you all for being here and doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
So the floor is yours, Jesse. Do you want to, in terms of how this moment started that kind of either woken you or changed your life completely? Yeah,
well, I was born and raised in a very strict, traditional church family, and it's Pentecostal, and we had so many. I have to be mindful of the many family members that are yet there, but I joke with them and I say, "Oh, I survived Christianity." So it kind of ticks them off, but it's all in love. And the reason why I say that is because I believe we're all doing the best that we can with what we have. And I believe that we go through to get to. And me being born in Pentecostalism with so many restrictions, I got to a place where I did not want to jeopardize my chances of making it into heaven. And the reason why I say that is because the gist of what I want to share with you is I had many, many opportunities throughout life, because the Bible says that a man's gift makes room, and room is opportunity. And I have been very blessed to have a talent to sing, among other things. And coming up in the church, first of all, my dad was a pastor and became a bishop of many, many, many people. He had a talent to teach in the Bible like no one else. And he just drew crowds by the thousands. And when he's in the midst of doing what he does, when that God factor is shining through his life, people, wherever we were, would just gravitate to him and just come closer and closer, because that's the gift that Dad had. So being the son of a man like that, there were a lot of expectations on my life.
Right.
So my thing was, how can I serve my father and serve God and really just solidify my chances of making it into that through those pearly gates. And my mindset was so to the point that when my gift opened up the doors of opportunity, I couldn't see beyond what was before me because I was so busy looking far ahead to things that really weren't there. And the reason why I say that is because I had an opportunity to sign with on Capitol Records. And I signed with them in 95, and I had a wonderful recording contract where most people never got as a first, time artist. So my thing is, even when I sang throughout the church, I wanted to do things that I wanted to do things differently, because I got tired of doing the same old, same old. So I wanted to set out and prove that you can record a secular album and yet still represent the body of Christ. And that's what I did. But then I got to the place where I was fearful that I would miss out on heaven, that I was disappointing God because I was singing love songs and life songs and things like that. So I gave it up. And when I gave it up, my team, his guy by the name of Daryl Porter, we flew to New York, set up a meeting with the Clive Davis. And if you guys know anything about Clive Davis, he is the most successful recording producer in the world.
Yeah.
And I was going to be his male Whitney Houston. And this was like at the peak. And I, 2 weeks before, canceled the meeting.
Wow.
And it was so to the point where I had a team of a few people. One of the people, they set up this meeting. The other was my accountant. And it was so to the point, and we were like brothers. So to the point where I flew to Chicago where he was, and we went to eat. And he said, "Hey, I love you, right?" Yeah. He said, "Well, this is how much money you owe me, and I'm not pressuring you for it, but gospel isn't going to get you what you could have got had you stayed singing secular music. So whenever you get it, I want it back." So I was like, wow, that's really deep. So that's kind of like the nutshell of how things were with my team. I was becoming a part of the machine. Now, fast forward, that was 1997. Yeah, 1996, 97 when I gave up that. Then I decided to go back and sing, in the church. And I began to travel with some of the biggest name speakers like Creflo Dollar and Don Mears and Bishop T.D. Jakes and big name speakers like that in the Christian industry. And then I got to the place I was like, you know what, God, I love you so much, and I am going to do these voiceovers and animation of thing that you've given me. I'm going to use this talent. And so what I did was I went to get some lessons, not lessons, but I went to create a demonstration tape so that I can get into the industry. So the woman who was assisting me with the demonstration tape, she couldn't believe the talent that I had. So she called up her talent agency, "Look, I got you guys, got to check out this guy." So we went down to the agency. They were in the middle of a big recording session. They stopped the session, asked one of the three people to come out, sent me in there, and I got in the booth and I choked. I got so afraid because it happened so quickly. I couldn't believe it, but it was just a matter of me doing what I knew to do with the talent that the divine had given me so that I can use it to bring joy to someone's life. Now, let's fast forward a little bit further. And then I created this demonstration tape. And it had about 41 or 2 different voices on it. And when the talent agency, when they got it, they couldn't believe that I did all the voices. So they called me in. I showed up and they got a big job and they asked me if I could wait for about an hour. So I said, okay, well, the demonstration that I did was, it was about a family reunion. So everybody come up and introduce yourselves. And then everybody had a different voice. So what I did while I was waiting, I flipped it and I said, okay, well, this is an audition for a big part. So everybody, you come up and introduce yourselves, like that. So I switched it up, got before them, it was over. So it was to the point where when I signed with them a few days later, they told me it was CED back then, Cunningham, Escott, and Dupini. And now it's called CESD. So it was to the point where they said at the table, the signing table, you are going to make us so wealthy. And I was like, really? And you guys only get 5%. And they were like, yes. So I was like, thank God, finally. Now 3 months passed. I'm still traveling with these different ministers and things like that, Joyce Myers. And the only one I hadn't ministered before was Joel Osteen. So he has the biggest church in the United States. And I already knew in my mind I was going to get there. So 3 months later, and they said, they called me in, they said, Jesse, we really appreciate, what you do in ministering and traveling and all of that, but we need you here and present so that we all can get wealthy. And, so we really need you here. So my crazy self, I thought, wow, I'm going to get some crowns in glory because I'm just going to serve God. So I turned down the offer. I gave it up and walked out.
So Jesse, just to go one step back, you gave out this is the second opportunity that you've let go.
This is the third, actually.
Or the third, actually.
But there was a number, but yeah.
But the first one, which was a massive opportunity, you let go. Was it because you wanted to more in terms of please your dad, because you wanted to make sure you don't let him down for what he had in his church and the way he served? Or was it a way of more in terms of not letting God down for doing the work? Just explain to me, what was your thought process at the time with regards to turning back that huge opportunity? Was it because of a family member like your dad that you don't want to let down? Because
I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Was it God where you felt, oh, God is not gonna work out because God wouldn't want you to do this type of work or somebody other? What was your main your in your mind at that time?
Well, I'm definitely going to get to that. I was building up to it.
Yeah.
But the point is, the recording contract on Capitol Records was the first. The second one was Clive Davis. The third was this CED contract. And I gave them up. No, I didn't want to let my dad. I did what I did to serve my father.
Okay.
In
Understood.
the church.
Okay.
So both my natural father and my spiritual father.
Okay, got you. Okay.
And then now I'm at this place where I'm traveling and I'm ministering with the biggest of ministers. And it's either that or it's to do the voiceover and animation work in the entertainment industry. But my thing was, you know what? I am going to serve God. So thank you so much for your opportunities. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. But they were so upset by that, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, for a lot of people. And the hundreds of thousands of people want to be in the industry, but I gave it up so effortlessly. And so as I was leaving the place, it was almost as if I felt like this, what did you just do? But I blocked it out because God is pleased. God is pleased with me. So now that was in 2005, I believe. And now the economy tanked in 2008. I'm going to bring it to a conclusion here. But the gist of this is, it's the talent. It's the gifts that the divine gives us And if we would only turn within to find out what those gifts are, you know, what you love to do, it's what you enjoy to do, it's what you can do. And when you dive into it, it's like, oh my, and then you have this love relationship, and it's not work. It's not. It's just like, oh my, I love this. This is so great. And then you do things to improve yourself. And I'm hoping that my daughter hears the laundry, so excuse the buzz there. But if it's really loud, I'll get up and go turn it off.
That's perfect. Can't hear anything.
Okay, cool. And so to stir up the gift and to hone the gift, this is what presented all of these wonderful once in a lifetime opportunities, because a lot of us don't realize how talented and gifted we are. If only just knowing that the divine who created everything, everyone, everywhere is that same divine energy that is within us, that works through us, as us, but it is the gift and it's the talent that makes the room, that opens up the doors of opportunity for us to walk through and to have this wonderful, efficiently fulfilled life. That's where I was. And I knew that the gift made room, but at the same time, I believed that whatever I thought and felt about, I was going to bring about. So you tie in the gift and the talent with some work and having faith to believe that it's going to manifest great things in your life and through your life for other lives, along with the affirmations and the visualizations like Michael Beckwith later taught. And these are the things that manifested things in my life. So now here I am, 2008, and the economy tanks. No churches were calling. I gave up all of the opportunities of the world. And now I'm behind in all of my bills, 3 months behind in my rent, and I'm facing eviction. And my daughter was 7 years old at the time, and I couldn't even afford her prescription because she was sick in bed with a very high fever. I came home the lowest I've ever been. And I was so angry at God. I was so angry. I said everything under the sun. I didn't care if he struck me down. I sung some of everything, and I tried to encourage myself, and I just literally cried myself sick. And there on those hardwood floors, in my own mess, I heard the voice of God for the first time. And it said, I never told you to pass up on those opportunities. I said that a man's gift makes room for him. Room is and always will be opportunities. And I set up, oh wow, so that's what you sound like. And it was just the clearest, most loving thought and feeling and presence that I ever heard. And I'm like, wow, that's what you sound like. And it sounded like me. It was utterly amazing. And so I said, well, okay, well, this means that you've always been there. And then for me to say everything I just said to you and you still speak to me, that means you really do love me and you care for me. So you know what, God, look, I've tried to live my life perfectly as to not disappoint you so that I can make it into, heaven. And evidently I've missed something. So you know what? I pray that you would open my eyes and enable me to see things in people as they are and not only as they appear. And if I am to convey your message, having been licensed to minister the year before in 2007, I need to know truth. Not what man has said or written that was uninspired by you, but the truth of the living God of all creation. And the next thought that came to my mind was, get up and study the origin of your faith. I was like, I could never have thought of that. No. That is so at that point, I got up and I began to study the origin of my faith, which is the substance of what I hope for, and it's the evidence of what I don't see. And it's the history of that which brought me to this place of accepting and believing what I heard and what I was told and what I was taught since I was in my mother's belly. So it was like, okay, knowing, let me make this longer story short. So knowing how Christianity was founded and how it became what it is, it was an emotional roller coaster. I mean, dips and dives and twists and turns to the point where I was literally depressed. And then something came to mind regarding a particular scripture that says, he who increase in knowledge also increase in sorrow. And I'm like, why is this? What is this about? What kind of God are you? This is terrible. But then it's just like, hey, the truth hurts, but it also sets you free. Because then things started coming to mind, like movies like The Matrix and The 13th Floor and The Truman Show. And I had heard of Michael Beckwith, and I was invited to sing at the church, and I was like, oh, this is a cult. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to get here and, someone invited me or something like that. It's like, this is not of God. And I walked through, I was nervous. I walked through and I was like, something ain't right. I feel love. Well, you saw the movie The Grinch when he has that awakening moment and he's like, I love you and all that. And Max and all that. That's kind of how it was. I was like, this is nice. I'm leaky and there's so much love in here. This is not bad. And I stayed there and I sang, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Then when they took my hands and lifted on blessed, I was just bawling. I was like, thank you. When I think about these moments, but experiencing God in a way that I had never before. That moved me so deeply. Now, in conclusion, I was invited to sing by Tim McAfee Lewis. And I think it was one of the first times I sang at Agape. And I sang Amazing Grace.
Oh.
And I did it a cappella. I know they have the band and their way of doing things, but this is how I do it. And this is how I've done it different places around the world for 40, 60,000 people, a sea of people in Africa, other countries. And I did it. So I told my former Bishop Kenneth Omer, and he said some things to me. And my mother told me when she found out that I was going to Agape, because the economy dried up and Agape asked me to come and sing. So I ended up there, but it wasn't happenstance. I think it was just serendipitous. It was, God divinely guiding me from where I was to where I needed to be to get to a place that I had never been before. So I was just going with the flow. Now, here we are. I have awakened so much to the point where I'm like, wow, God, this is amazing. I just didn't know. So you know what, God? Now that you open my eyes, I really know that you really are all there is. They used to talk all this stuff at Agape. God used to think those people were crazy, God. God is all there is and all that stuff like that. But you really are. This is just so amazing. You're in everything. I see you in the plants over there. In me and in my baby girl and in the wood. I feel you in everything, everyone, everywhere, every time, and I'm just so excited. So what are we gonna do with this now that I said, God, I'm so sorry I passed up on all those opportunities. God was like, hey, everything happens for a reason. All things work together for good to them who love God and are called according to his purpose, and we all have been called. So Jesse, what do you want to do? I was like, well, first of all, thank you for speaking to me, because I would think that I was crazy if I was watching myself have this one-sided conversation. But it's good to know that you're speaking through my thoughts. So what do I want to do? Well, we need to make up a lot of ground in the least amount of time. Hey, how about a singing reality show? Okay. Let's do a singing reality show. So I began to audition for all the singing reality shows, be it America's Got Talent, and The Voice, and it was one other one, X Factor. And then I went to another city to audition for these because I'm like, oh, I know that God is all there is. And I'm going to sing any and everything because I'm going to allow the divine to shine through me, my voice, and it's just going to be great. But they all told me no. So I was like, well, you know what, God, thank you so much. And I had done Landmark Forum because I wanted to make sure that it was beyond church at that point. I needed some professional help to assist me in making it to where I believe the divine had for me, which I had no clue. So and then I signed up and I joined the University of Santa Monica, a school of spiritual psychology. And so what ended up happening was, after I flew to another city to audition for The Voice and all that I had been through, I mean, it was amazing as to the things I've gone through to make it onto one of those shows. I said, well, once again, God, I've had some many wonderful opportunities. So thank you. So I'll just go back to school and finish my education in spiritual psychology so that I can assist others in not making these ridiculous decisions that I've made. And the Spirit was like, hey, they weren't ridiculous. You got to lighten up on that. So bottom line is, I said, well, how am I going to pay for that? I don't have the money. I'm having challenges and this and this and that. So I said, well, you know what? I'll go and sing on 3rd Street Promenade. Yeah, I don't care. I've been on the biggest of platforms. There's no more pride. So I will sing on 3rd Street Promenade for whatever people could give, and I'll accept singing engagements for whatever people could afford. And I charged a lot of money back then. So that was on a Sunday. Now here's the turning point. Because I chose to just go with the flow and not fight and continue to audition for those shows, I just said, well, you know what? I've manifested everything else up to this point. And then I also chose to manifest to giving those things up. So I'm just going to believe that I will be where I'm supposed to be. So I got to the point where I just said, let me see, how can I make this really short? Okay, so that was on a Sunday when I made up my mind. I said, well, I'll accept this engagements, whatever people could afford, and I'll go sing on 3rd Street Promenade. That Wednesday, someone called, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days later, and they asked me to do a mini concert. And I'm like, oh, yes, I'm used to making a lot of money. Oh, great. Okay, well, the business side, what are we talking? Well, we can give you $75. And my spirit was like, hell no, I wish I would. And spirit was like, you said. And I was like, oh, I did, didn't I? Okay, well, all right, I'll be there. And I was like, man, I wish this voice would just be quiet sometime, but thanks. Ugh. So I showed up at the church service on that Sunday, and I was asked to sing 4 songs. I ended up singing 7 songs.
Oh, wow.
Because the Spirit was just flowing. The reciprocating love was just ever so present. And at the end of the service, because the speaker couldn't even speak because she was just in tears and in the Spirit, she allowed people to give into my hands on the way out the door, and I left with $780.
Oh.
Wow.
And I needed $1,400 to start my 2nd year at the University of Santa Monica to continue on that Friday, just 2 days later. So the next day I'm sitting outside the YMCA. I know how to manifest. I was at different fitness centers on guest memberships and eating clean because I was going to make it onto one of those shows. And I'm outside the YMCA the next morning, Monday morning, and the speaker called. And have you guys ever saw this movie called Touched by an Angel?
Yes.
Della Reese,
Oh.
the woman of color on there, the older one.
Yes.
She was the speaker.
Oh.
Oh.
It was her church. She called that next morning. She said, baby, I was so moved by what you did at the service on yesterday that I called a son of mine. And he has a show called The Voice. And I was like,
Oh.
And I told him about you, but I couldn't remember your name. So I told him it was Austin Powers. So when you meet him, tell him that's your stage name, but your real name is Jesse. But listen, we need to get him some music. I introduced him to his wife, Aroma, and we need to get it to him right away. And I said, yes, ma'am. I left the YMCA before even going in, drove home, sent her the music. They sent it to him. And that Tuesday morning, The Voice reached out to me on every social media platform, email, text message, and voice messages, home phone and cell phone, asking me to come and be one of the contestants on their second season of The Voice. And they were 30 days already into it. They had to call everybody back in. They had to do the exams. They had to bring in the psychologist to make sure I wasn't crazy. And that's how I unconventionally made it onto the show, as a result of my surrendering to the divine after having gave up and stuck in my own head, getting out of my way. And then the floodgates opened, and that's how I made it onto the show. Now, even as I was on the show, that same favor, I chose to stay in and just do whatever I was asked. And there's some things that I could say, but because they became number one that season, I performed 5 different times during that second season. 5. I was on Team Christina. I really wanted to choose Adam Levine, but I chose Christina. And it was a blessing up until they chose to remove me from the show. I was told that I already won. And that was the favor that followed me throughout. It was so much favor to the point where, one little example, and it was several things like this. When I got the contract, I said, I just signed it. This is God. This has to be. So either I'm going to play or I'm not. So I took the contract down to the talent agency or whatever there was who took it down to them. And the lady was like, oh my God, she was literally almost in tears. She was like, you have no idea how easy you just made my life. If there's anything I could do for you. And I guess she caught my spirit and she's like, no, what is it? If I can't do it, I'll just, ask. If I can't do it, I'll just say no. So I was like, well, I'm a really soft sleeper. So, but if there's an extra room that opens up and I can have my own room, I will so appreciate it. She said, consider it done. Now you need to get down to the hotel because you need and be prepared to be there for 3 months. I'm like, oh my God, 3 months? I have a daughter. I didn't sweat it. I got down there and prepared for 3 months. And this long story shorter, I checked into the one hotel. I had my own room. We moved to another hotel. I had to share with the guy. And then we got to the third and final hotel. I had my own room, but the room was not clean. I'll leave it like that, because there were some activities just before I went into the room. It's like, but they were booked. So I came to the front just to say, I'll wait till you guys clean it up. But the manager of the entire hotel came out, and he came from behind the office, behind the desk, and he's like, oh my God, Jesse. We had already done the blind auditions and everything. What's going on? Oh my God, I'm so glad to meet you. What's happening here? And so they said, the room is this and this. He said, here, give him this room. And he gave me a poolside suite. Everybody else was in the tall tower, but I'm on the pool with the gate and all of that. That's the favor that God had given and put on my life throughout, to the point where after the fact, the contestants came to me and they apologized. One in particular, I can't remember her name offhand, but she called and said, I apologize on behalf of all of us, because we thought that you were some rich guy who was already pegged to win. So I really want to apologize for treating you. But the fact of the matter is, when they sent me home, I knew that I was representing not only the church, the body of Christ, but New Thought, Michael Beckwith, the Forum, and the University of Santa Monica, and the Divine, because they had no reason to. But when they released me, Carson Daly put the microphone up and I said, I lived a dream, and how I relate to myself while in this process becomes the process, and I'm grateful. And that was the big turning point. And since then, how I manifested that's how I continue to manifest. It's tapping into the divine that is within to see what's there for me that I may share it with the world and consider others above myself, take care of myself. But when I do so and I think and move about for the bigger picture, things happen so much sooner. So having a vision, setting the intentions, applying my attention and meditating and thinking and feeling about what I desire to bring about, it always comes to fruition. And if it doesn't, if it tarries, I don't attach myself to the outcome. I just know that what's meant to be will be, because the divine has given us the gift to think and feel about whatever we desire to bring about. And when you do so and you have that faith, faith without works is dead. So if you believe, you have the faith, and then you move in the direction of desire, then that's when things begin to happen, especially when you're thinking about other people and it's more inclusive of others. Then things happen and those doors are opened and we're all blessed.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a long way home.
No, it was really interesting, and the whole story.
What an amazing story. I was in awe with the entire story, Jesse. Wow. It must have been an amazing emotional roller coaster for you, but also such an amazing
it was a big learning curve for him.
Spiritual learning curve for you with regards to what you went through. I can imagine all the emotions that you must have had when you went through there. It was like, wow.
Well, he had to learn to surrender really and undo what he's been taught.
Correct. Allowing God to flow through you.
Very key, Terry.
It's what we're all doing, actually. And I think especially last year, you know, some of us got through it, but last year it was like even deeper, you know, taking off what we'd all been put on by whether it was a religion or our families or anyone. And that's what he had to get back to him.
To your core being.
His relationship with God, not
someone else or what was put on you.
Yeah,
exactly. And this is what, like you said, this is what the entire world, the planet, is experiencing this. Yeah. So I believe, like when I said that I believe that we've come here to assist one another in our soul's evolution, you know, what we go through so that others wouldn't have to. So because knowledge is passed down.
Correct.
And it's not only passed down through our blood generations and DNA, but it's passed down through our human family. Yeah. Correct. And it's up to the individual as to what they do with it. Because even with what's happening right now in the United States and a lot of these other countries where they've had the same leader dictating to them their entire lives. And they looked back at us when we had our previous president, and they were like, well, at least in 4, maybe 8 years, you guys can get a new one, because the one that we have, it's all I've ever known since I was born. And they were 23, 24 years old. But when you think about the regimes, when you think about people being set in their ways, and because everything is changing, people are becoming fearful, and they're defending and going out and buying guns and they're, you know, and acting out and killing a certain type of race and a certain class of people and hoarding the water. And so that's what's happening. And it's just amazing that you brought that up, Terry, because this is exactly what's happening. So all that I've been through, I'm grateful that I made it to this place whereby I can have this divine appointment and connection with the both of you, so that we can bring our gifts and talents together to bring about an uplifting and an evolutionary experience and hopes, evolutionary experience for others. Yeah, this is amazing.
Because at the end of the day, you know, he ended up with nothing, no money to pay his rent or anything. And so there is always a way out of everything.
It's a level of faith. It's a level of
letting go
100%
the control and the box mindset. And that's what over and over and over again, I think we keep, you know, I'm still doing it. You know, we catch ourselves on little things.
Yeah. But in also
allowing the process to, like you said, to flow. Like you went to that little song, you know, it's $75 for his singing, but then he ended up with all that money, and then he ended up onto The Voice. So it was like you went another. He just said, you have to trust me. It might have to go a bit diversion, but also you know, God is speaking to all these people. There's like a whole orchestrated team going on, and somebody's got to pick it up to help that person. And sometimes they don't. So then they have to go to another person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
And
know
that's
what
what
I
the
mean?
divine will do. Yeah, because I was just here.
They've got to pick it
What the
up.
people.
It's
Yeah,
like when
and
I
if you.
kept getting your name for like 2 or 3 weeks, I could have ignored that.
Nice.
You know,
And that,
I'm like, oh, hold on a sec.
that's key.
But also
Yeah,
that,
you were able to see, recognize things.
but also that voice, when you heard that voice, when God spoke to you, it was a voice that was calm, but at the same time, it was authentic, and it was a voice that was really a voice of like,
You just
I'm
know, I
here
think.
to support you and help you.
Yeah, it was
It was
very
it was a
present.
non-judgmental voice.
But you know when it's God's voice. You just know.
Yeah.
I can't,
Yep.
you know, it's not every day, and you wish it was all day, every day. But when it comes in, you just, your heart, you just swell, and you just know.
Yeah. And that's what I've come to know as the voice of God, even in my thoughts. And I tell people often that that voice is within, and it will never tell you to do anything to harm yourself or another. That's how you know it's the divine, especially when it's inclusive of others.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is the beauty of it. So that is what I've been able to cling to and trusting when I didn't, and when I haven't heard, and when I don't hear that voice, just really just, why am I not here? For what is the issue? Come on, God, you need to step your game up now. All the while, the divine is like, it's there for the asking. All you got to do is just believe and receive. It's challenging to do so. Good point. Case in point, pandemic, I traveled. I've been to 24 countries, and I was on tour in Florida, and I was ministering at different churches, Pentecostal churches. And the pandemic hit. Daughter came home. I came home. It's a couple of days either before or after her, and she looking at me like, okay, what are we going to, as most of us were trying to figure it out. But what I had to do was turn within, been here, done this before. And it came to me, this same little 20-year-old girl over there staring at you. Remember how you used to read to her when she was a little kid? Yeah, that was so nice. We used to go to the school and do Dr. Seuss. And then it just hit me, oh my God, let's do like we've done before. We'll bring the books to life, but this time we're going to use all of the talents that we gave up before, the singing, the voiceovers, the animation, the acting. Now you get to produce. Now you get to direct your own. So everything that I went through was intentional for me to get to this place where I have a great appreciation. Now I get to use all of those same talents to bring universal content to life for children. And that's how Mr. Jesse was born. But how am I going to support myself? Hey, don't freak out. Don't panic. You've been here before. It's just gonna work out, hasn't it? In the past? Yeah, but okay, let me just turn within. And it happened. And I tell you that as much as I just get so upset with the government being a man of color in America and having experienced a lot of the negativity that's coming up, that's being exposed now, but God reminded me, you made it through it. Now you can speak to others who are in it and assist them in coming through. You know what it's like, but yet and still you have love because you understand duality. You can't understand wellness if you have never not been well. You can't understand healing if you've never been sick.
Correct.
So you know what it's like to be discriminated against. So what are you going to do with it?
Also, dealing with children as I do and as yourself, children don't see any color, love.
That's true.
They just mixed to, our son's from Ethiopia and he mixed in Dubai in a classroom with all nationalities. They don't, it's taught to them. So by you working with kids at a young age of all colors and all nationalities, educating them from the word go, oneness, and that love and that help for one another is the best gift that we can give out. Yes. That it's not given later on, it's education That's the core, really.
That's key.
It's a start.
That's it.
It's a start of bringing that oneness to kids, where we're all one on this planet.
Yes.
Kids know that.
And
The
that
kids
is
know
the
that.
purpose. They do.
Kids already, they know that no separation children.
There is no
I've
separation
been
at all.
working with kids for 8 years. They don't see anything. It's what they're
Yes.
So we have to make sure that those parents and those children get the right teachers and that they carry that in life with them, what they already have. So like we went through taking off all that armor and all what we were taught, because then it enables you to help the children, because you're coming from that
level of love and compassion.
Nobody's coming from an inner
Yeah.
child, that simplicity of your inner child. You can you have to go right back to your inner child in order to help a child.
Yes, I love that. That's beautiful.
Do you know what
And
I
that's
mean?
what you
Yeah.
guys are doing.
That's what
Reverend Leon is doing. That's what Agape is doing. That's
have
what
to
I'm
do
doing
that.
as Mr. Jesse. But even just this last word on this is the reason why I told that. Well, the reason why I told that story is because one thing led to another thing. And I had to learn to just trust and go with the flow. And that same government came through for the first time in the history of this country to support actors and actresses and singers and producers with unemployment. It never happened before.
Really?
So we were able to receive unemployment as independent artists, independent contractors.
That's
I never knew
amazing.
that.
So that's
No, I
one
never
thing.
knew that.
So we received unemployment before you are on your own. So, but now the unemployment, and then they tacked on an additional pandemic $300 a week on top of the unemployment, which was based on what you've made in the past.
Yeah, that was very
And
good.
as a result of
right.
that, then you have assistance with all these different
It
food
was good.
programs,
You're right.
health
It was good.
insurance, the same thing that
Yeah.
a lot of them are trying to get rid of. If Obama hadn't enacted the Obama, whatever you call it, Healthcare Act or whatever, then many of us would have been out. But because of what happened in the past, it helped us in the present. And the last thing I'll say about this is that there were different situations where even like the stimulus checks, and then they had this PPP where you can apply for business loans.
Yeah.
And then you had an SBA loan that you could apply for. And they were just basically giving these things out. And as a result, I'm like, this is a blessing. Now I can do this. Now I can do that.
100%.
And in the conclusion of this whole thing, I just got to the place just the other day because with Mr. Jesse, I haven't posted a video since December because an attorney saw it that knows me. And he said, hey, you really want to be careful in reading other people's content. We can really see the success in this. I want to, and thank you. And I shall. I need that. So I had to stop and start creating my own and or find others who wouldn't mind me.
I don't care. Go ahead.
I promise you it will be wonderful. But the fact is I could not get people to do what they say they would do. And then after working on the computer all day, I sat down and I was like, I really don't feel like watching a movie, but I'm too tired to sleep. I've been looking at this screen all day, all night. I feel horrible. And something said, turn on Disney Channel. And I went and I watched Doctor Strange. And I was like, I've seen this so many times, God, but I love it. And then it got to the part, it was about 1 something in the morning. And then the ancient one said to Doctor Strange, she said, what's the part? Oh, come on, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. She said, you can't beat a river into submission. You have to give in to and surrender to its current. She's like, surrender, Dr. Strange, surrender, and left him on the top of Mount Everest. I turned off the TV and I said, surrender. Let me just go with the flow of this current that you have provided us. And the next day, things just begin to happen. I tell you, someone, a vocal client called me up and I canceled the meeting or something like that, our session. And he was concerned. He said, what's going on? I said, man, I'm trying to get Mr. Jesse together with this little computer. And he was like, well, you should get this kind. He started sending me all these different computers. And I'm like, yeah, that would be great. But he doesn't know that I don't have the money to get that. So the next day I'm out driving around and I get a text message from Best Buy saying your order will be ready in 90 minutes. And I pulled over. I was like, what is this? And I went to the Best Buy, and that vocal client bought me that big iMac computer
Oh my,
that you
wow.
guys saw next day. And many things have happened like that. So I said that last part.
And God was giving you the message through that program. Go with the flow of the river.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
go with the
that's great.
flow.
So I just wanted you I wanted to share that with those of you who may not know what your gift and or your talent is. Turn
it might be
within.
just a simple message like that. Flick the TV on to Disney and listen to this.
And listen,
in.
be open to how the divine will speak to you.
Yeah.
Don't be so closed-minded and putting the divine, who is all powerful, all knowing and omnipresent, in a small box of your past. And as a result,
that's lovely.
I still don't know to this day how, when, what, where, but I trust. And now that we've done this, so I'm going to even bring your books to life. Shonda.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not one of these people that you can't use go ahead and, we do different things, but you bring it alive with your singing, or no problem whatsoever.
But it's about sharing each other. It's helping each other. That's
true,
what we are on this planet. It's about
sharing
and helping.
Jesse, children, you have to put them before yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the future.
That's it.
Yes. And the present today, because there's so many of them.
Before yourself. I don't care. Anyone asks me to go anywhere, they've got no money, whatever, I'm going. It's kids. Don't care.
Yes.
Children.
So it's been a blessing. And I can't tell you guys how appreciative I am of you all tapping into the divine and allowing that love and light to, and even when I was looking at the video, I woke up this morning and I have these conversations with God during my consecration times in the morning. And I was like, you know what, God, I can do anything in you. I mean, I can do anything through you and knowing that you are in me, working through me, as me, but I don't want to do everything. I pray and ask that you would be as much as you can be in me, through me, as me, and give me to do that and let go of the things that aren't meant for me, because I only want. So with that, it was just like, I can go on and on. I don't want to keep going because I can for a very long time. But the thing is, it's a surrender.
It's a surrender.
Pardon me? Yeah,
no, I'm the same.
it
I can
is.
go on. So but it's a surrender, and we've loved your talk. It's been amazing, and we've had singing in it. We've had it all.
Thank you so much, Jesse. It was an absolute, it was an amazing experience. Thank you for sharing your story to us.
And I'm sure you've got others, so we'll have you back again.
Definitely.
And
So you got to give me a time limit next time, and I'll set the timer right over here. Beep. Okay, you got 30 minutes. You got to bring it to a close. But it was just one of those free flowing things, just going with the flow. So hopefully people really got the message and just trust, get moving on it. Set that intention and it happens. So thank you all for being everything.
Thank you.
But oh no, I got to tell you this. You guys together, it was so inspirational, because I didn't want to go on and on. But the point I was going to make was, I was like, I'm tired of chasing things. I'm tired of chasing and spending all this money going out with this woman here and that woman to see if this is the one, that's the one. I was like, I know you said that a man that finds a wife findeth a good thing, but I'm sick of trying to find her. So I'm done with that. So whomever she is, she's going to have to come, because it's going to have to be the right match, because I know you've given me all this, but it's not only about me. And then I see you all's picture and I was like, you know what? That's what I'm talking about. I want some of that. I want some of that right there. Yes. So that's what I mean, outside of, or in addition to you all coming together to bring about this platform. It's just you all being together, and then having the additional wonderful being come into you all's lives so that you all can impart, and the three of you together, and expand. This is what I see. I know I get kind of carried away, but that's what I see when I see you guys. So you all are very inspirational to me. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We're truly grateful, and thank you for coming on our show. Feel free to contact us at info@the Medicals Podcast. That's info@the Medicals Podcast. Feel free to contact us. And yes, thank you so much.